Well, I have 17 years of sobriety, but did you know that I was a dry drunk? According to AA, of course. And stick around, I'll tell you what that means for me and what it might mean for you, if you're one of the many now who are walking away from the rooms. According to my medical source, WebMD, a dry drunk is a term that was coined by Alcoholics Anonymous for someone who has quit drinking but hasn't dealt with the issues that led to the addiction in the first place. They refer to it as a state of, quote, white knuckling, right on the edge, and substitution of the addiction of alcohol for other destructive addictions. Many toxic personality traits develop with this dry drunk syndrome, including anxiety, mood swings, and bitter resentment of those who intervene to get you sober. Oh my. According to the critics of the anti-AA concept, I've been a dry drunk for 17 years. I had no idea. I've been living in this awful state of dry drunkenness for almost 2 decades. I don't know how I've been making it. But luckily, the critics also state that the rooms will be there when I relapse. I've only got a few decades left on this terrain, so I guess I'll just sit on the edge of that rolling wagon until fate takes me and I inevitably fall off. I can't tell you how many times I've been named a victim of this dry drunk syndrome from those few who actually remain sober long term in Alcoholics Anonymous, yet can't seem to ever detach from AA to simply go on with their lives. The outcry is largely the same as one who leaves a fundamentalist church whose pastor yells on his way out the door that you were never a real Christian, or when your life falls to shambles, we'll be here, largely in the same realm as the intelligent rebuttal of "nuh-uh" issued from the mouth of a 5-year-old. But in fairness, I did do a self-assessment. After all, maybe I do have dry drunk syndrome and had it all these years, which will happen if you don't bind yourself to a lifelong contract of attendance and belief to the mantras of AA. First symptom of the dry drunk is wanting to be the center of attention. Well, not really. I'm mostly retired and keep to myself living in foreign lands. I'm extremely selective of who I let into my inner circle and probably wouldn't be going out of my way to gain this attention from others. So far, so good. But the list continues on. Feeling like you're always a victim. Can't say I suffer from this one either. I was half retired by 50, and by 57 am largely completely retired from being a physical therapist. I'm in great physical shape and have all sorts of time to pursue these social media type of endeavors. So, no, I pretty much feel unbelievably blessed by the universe, especially while living in third world countries where one can witness real victims just by walking to the grocery store. Here's one, having trouble communicating with people. Well, I can't have that one, because when I do contract in the realm of physical therapy periodically, I have to communicate effectively every day. As a matter of fact, I have to be really good at it. I also seem to have no fear of public speaking and have given minor seminars on various physical therapy topics, so I think I'm okay there. But let's keep going. Mood swings that range from depression to extreme happiness. Well, yeah, when I was drinking heavily, this was true. I had depression about 80 to 90% of the time. But you see, AA, I started my emotional recovery program of meditation, Tai Chi, and yoga on top of my fitness routine. I would say I have a depressive personality, and I've mostly resolved it with clean diet, fitness, and the activities above. The last time I actually measured my depression, it was about 7% of the time in this early retirement. So I'm going to have to give this symptom a hard no. Fear that you can't change. But I did change. I got in incredible shape, eat well, minimized caffeine, lost the cigarettes, and holistically recreated my entire being. I even wrote a book for others on how to reinvent self. So nope, don't have this one, AA. Anger and resentment towards family and friends who intervened with my drinking. But no one did. You see, AA, I understood that the only person who could change my life was myself. I never bought into surrendering to a higher power. I asked it for strength, but I shook hands with the giant magic elf that the burden was largely on my shoulders. I had to choose if I was going to walk with it or not. And I'm pretty pleased with myself, actually, that I decided to continue to carry it on the trail. Frustration over time wasted with alcohol abuse. Not really, AA. Hell, 2 self-help books came out of my 13 years of alcoholism. The rest is a journey. Sometimes the trail is level and smooth, and other times it's uphill through jagged rocks, and sometimes you wander off the trail altogether. It's all part of life, so no, AA, I don't cry over that long-dried milk I spilled decades ago. And here's one, believing that sobriety is boring. What? Sobriety has less drama by leaps and bounds, but boring? Not at all. Again, I work out 2 out of every 3 days and engage in emotional mind workout activities already mentioned above. I explore the world. Since my sobriety, I have hiked the 2,660-mile Pacific Crest Trail. I trained in my longtime art of Muay Thai kickboxing for an extended period in Thailand. I have visited all the castles and temples in Prague, Ukraine, Cambodia, and other Asian countries. I smoked a Tough Mudder event when I was 46. I wrote 5 books. I learned how to invest in the stock market, long and short term, and continue to have financial freedom because of this endeavor. I learned Spanish, and I'm currently learning Tagalog, as at this writing I am in the Philippines. In 2 weeks, I'm going to go on a multi-day trip to their beach in Argao and see the waterfalls. I'll also walk up a few volcanoes and probably visit a Taoist temple. If I do take the periodic contract, it will be in Alaska on one of the islands in the southeast, where I'll spend the off hours climbing mountains, walking across glaciers, and gazing at fjords. No, I'm not bored at all, AA. Next one, romanticizing past alcoholic life. No. It's part of my life that was fun at times, bad at others, but always revolved around chaos. It's in the past. I'm not an addict any longer, and that life is buried deep in the history books. And here's the next symptom, not acknowledging the problem substance abuse caused. Seriously, AA, the whole reason I quit is because I did acknowledge all those problems my alcoholism caused. What kind of screwed up logic is that coming from the rooms? We got a few more. Feeling jealous of those who are showing signs of a healthy recovery. Actually, I'm doing the opposite as well as a few others in the social media world who are rescuing people from the cult of AA. You see, AA, your rooms aren't healthy, not physically and definitely not emotionally. Regurgitating your horrific past at every meeting is horrible for your self-esteem. I am certainly not jealous of anyone in your rooms, and I love it when I hear about others who turn their life around after giving up the addiction and reinventing themselves as I did. But let's continue. Believing you always know what's best. I do know what's best for me, and I can make a pretty fair assessment of the Alcoholics Anonymous program by your 80% failure rate. I don't have to say your program doesn't work. The data says it for me. And the idea that you can't ever leave if you're in that minority that does abstain from alcohol long term, that is absurd, plain and simple. And now the last one, refusing to accept constructive criticism. I don't acknowledge any criticism from anyone who propagates a failed program. I don't acknowledge input from people who live in negativity and are not taking care of themselves physically and emotionally. I learn from others who are advancing themselves as I am. Those who pursue excellence. That is the input I acknowledge. I accept constructive criticism, just not from an AA member. Do you know why Alcoholics Anonymous members call me a dry drunk in their comments? Because it infuriates them that someone can reinvent his life without their help. It angers them that I take all the air right out of their hot balloon. You see, they see someone who doesn't go to meetings, never did one single step of their 12, won't listen to their mantras, and then publicly calls them out because of their massive failure rate that their program earns every single day, and they become enraged. Then they throw out the typical standard cliches in which cults are known to utter. They know deep down their lives are in disarray. They know they're afraid to live without the shackle of AA that was placed on them during their first weeks of their sobriety. Look at my life, AA. I am healthy and in a state of great physical shape at 57 years old. I have side interests that keep me busy in my very early retirement. Actually, I have the world at my feet and I captain my own ship. And it really bothers you, AA member, that I did it without 1 ounce of input from your rooms. It is up for you to decide what your life is going to resemble once you break the friendship with John Barleycorn. I suggest not spending it in the toxic program of Alcoholics Anonymous. They keep calling me a dry drunk. If that is true, then I advise everyone to pursue the dry drunk life, as since I quit alcohol, my life has been nothing but fantastic. Now, if you found this content helpful, go ahead and follow along and subscribe, and check out my own memoir of my personal spiritual reinvention on that 2,600-mile trail, The Shepherd and the Running Wolf, The Path to Forgiveness on the Pacific Crest Trail. The link is on the description. It's usually free on KDP and Amazon. And remember, keep your contract, be sober at sundown, and I'll see you at the next sunrise.